Before we jump into it, I'm looking to get a little more active on the platforms like Instagram and Twitter, so drop a follow if you don't already. Would love to get connected with you guys a little further. If not, no worries, but the links are in the description below. Check it out. Recently, I had an extra video left over from while I was on vacation that was simply going to be called The End of Blackout, asking the question of what would happen and talking about how Blackout was this huge undertaking from a developmental perspective, and honestly, from what I've heard, a miracle that it got even finished in such a little time that it was worked on. But with it, it seemingly was the pride and joy of Treyarch. Not only because it was the newest introduction to the series, but because of how much actually was put into it. The many hours and hours and hours on end to make something that was actually functional. It feels weird for it to just be a one and done thing, right? Which always brought up the question of where does it go next, if anywhere? In that video, we were going to be examining the possibilities of 1, it goes nowhere, it could be just done after Black Ops 4, with a little support carrying over into those that were still playing Black Ops 4 and not on Modern Warfare. 2, it would go free to play and be the premier Call of Duty Battle Royale. 3, it would have been the premier Black Ops Battle Royale, assuming the line of succession keeps on because of the brand's name power. Or 4, would it be something that Infinity Ward would merge with this to make a Modern Warfare BR combined with a Blackout BR, in the sense that you could choose the map to launch into, where you say can in PUBG. Ultimately, that video never made it to public because, well, you never saw the thoughts on the topic. But I think it's curious that that was probably for the better, because as of late, the topic of Modern Warfare Battle Royale has been quite relevant, and today we got a little bit further down that rabbit hole, and one that also mentioned the word free, as crazy as that sounds. So today we're going to examine a new report and what may be the fate of the topic of Modern Warfare Battle Royale. Now, of course, I think it should be said to take this all with a grain of salt, because until something is confirmed, we have absolutely no idea. But let's examine the reports from the very beginning here with this. Firstly, we ended up seeing that rumors would come out about how it was still something that Infinity Ward is working on it in-house. Battle Royale, because of how popular Blackout was, how popular the Battle Royale genre is, that Infinity Ward would just be making something here for Modern Warfare. Just kind of seemed like common sense. Now, whether or not you liked that idea or not, that's an entirely different story, and that's totally fine if you did or didn't, but that was the rumors that first came out here whenever Modern Warfare was first initially announced. Then it came to be mentioned that Infinity Ward wasn't going to comment on the rumors of Battle Royale. They weren't going to talk about it at all. Instead, they were focused on what was shown already and what was still, at that point, yet to be coming for the multiplayer reveal. Then they ended up saying they were currently focused on the core multiplayer in Modern Warfare versus Battle Royale. Joe Secott saying, we're really focused on Modern Warfare's authentic and gritty, realistic weapons, and it's a different experience. It's really just about pulling back to Modern Warfare and keeping that pure. We have pushed our networking engineers to allow us to have more players. On the technical side, we've had to do a ton of work on the multiplayer side to make things more efficient so that we could push those player counts higher and higher and higher. After that came some insight into the new Blitz-style interview with Game Informer that Joel Emsley did, to which they asked a ton of questions, some really great ones, honestly, and that's definitely well worth a watch. But on the topic of Battle Royale, Joel Emsley said simply, we'll have to wait and see, and that Infinity Ward were fans of Battle Royale, which now brings us to today, which may add some extra clarity here and might actually dust off the entire picture of this entire scenario and what ultimately is the fate of Battle Royale in Modern Warfare. Long Sensation, a good friend of mine from back in the day, I can vouch for some of his sources in the past and information in the past, had come out earlier today and said that Modern Warfare will have a Battle Royale mode with a few catches. 1, it won't be available at launch, very similar to how Firestorm launched within Battlefield, and that's something we'll discuss a little bit further in just a second. 2, it's not actually created in-house by Infinity Ward, hence what was said technically was never a cover-up or a lie from the studio, since they're handling simply the campaign, MP, and Spec Ops. What this said is that Raven Software will be handling the primary development of the Battle Royale. 3, it will be its own standalone game, downloadable separately, but still relative to the core game, but its own application that you can end up getting simply on its own. And 4, it'll be free. Now, that is kind of wild and a lot to take in, but it all does start to line up from everything we've seen in the past and things that have been, from what has been already displayed of the game, these little portions that are just kind of missing, the open holes in that whole grand picture that we're piecing together as a puzzle. So how does each part of this check out? Let's start out with the biggest, obviously, being that free is probably the biggest shocker here out of this. We had earlier heard from Activision's earning calls and also some stuff around that time that Call of Duty was looking to implement elements of free free to play into the game with Modern Warfare. We didn't know exactly how that checks out. We do know that we will have no traditional season pass and that post-launch maps will be introduced for free to all players with, again, that 1 week exclusivity for PlayStation 4 still, which again, I think is pretty dumb. I think exclusivity is an archaic thing, but with that report, it did seem kind of minimal. That was a very, very small free-to-play element, but a proposed standalone thing that is an application you can download that's still in relation to the game, but not necessarily tied directly to it. That's something that makes a little bit more sense of a free-to-play element. The fact that it's not being created by Infinity Ward by this report is something that also makes sense to me as well, because I personally don't see Call of Duty not doing a battle royale simply because of how well Blackout did. Like it or not, it's had some of the most stable numbers across Black Ops 4 and grows each time that there is that free-to-play weekend, or the month of April, I think, entirely was free-to-play. It's always been growing in those numbers that even outside of the free-to-play portions that wouldn't open up to larger player demographics naturally, they still stayed relatively constant. So by all indications, those free-to-play weekends, those stable numbers, that's a success for the Battle Royale of Black Ops 4 and of course Call of Duty. And this entire time, we probably did think that it would be sourced in-house. It would be something that Infinity Ward was created. Though again, there was absolutely no mention of this from Infinity Ward, and trust me, that was one of the big talking points I had back in the day in May at a smaller get-together for a press event at that studio. Mum was the word. There was nothing being talked about it because they probably weren't necessarily working on it themselves. So when we're asking questions about them in particular, we were kind of asking the right questions, but not in the right way. Or at least that's how I kind of see it approached here with this. So the idea that Raven would be taking over the reins here of this and working to create a Modern Warfare Battle Royale experience with everything coming from Modern Warfare that we have right now, that checks out to me as logical, at least. Of course, we don't know if it's confirmed, but it makes sense. And finally, the last part about it not being available at launch, I think this actually does make a lot of sense as well. When not offered at launch, it does a few things. One, it allows Infinity Ward to focus on a stable, kick-ass build of the game at launch, offering an absolute massive amount of content between MP, Spec Ops, and Campaign. The full package for the first time in a long time, and from all indications that I've personally seen with my own two eyes, I think that pending no last-second flops, this easily could become the first full game on launch with minimal issues that we've seen since maybe the glory days of COD. A bold statement, yes, I know, but also one that I think genuinely could be a possibility. It also, too, allows for more longevity, no immediate fatigue after the launch of the game. The problem with large content drops, and the thing that I immediately jump to, is the event stuff that we've seen in the past. Black Ops 4 has at least broken it up a little bit and had, as of recently, 2 major updates per operation. But when you took a look at things like World War II's content drops in events that happened there, we had everything dropped all at once, but then for the next 6, 7, 8 weeks, it was only a playlist update here and there, and nothing else was really added in on top of that. With a launch, of course, players will have a ton to do, but then a few weeks in, players naturally look for what else is next. I'm not saying that's good or bad, I'm just saying it's natural. Usually launch to DLC 1 is something of a long time, a few months, but this may step up and fill the void as another major milestone in that year of support that players can look forward to and add a little more longevity to what players look towards in the pipeline of post-launch content. And 3, it also doesn't detract from any major launch of the game itself, but it also fits to serve the live services that it seems like Activision are looking to transition COD partially into be. Conveniently, this was actually mentioned while recording this video, which further adds to the argument for this to check out, that Activision said during their earnings call, "We do see across many franchises, major upfront launches are ways to refresh a franchise, but also they see that games are becoming live services. You'll continue to see big launches from us, and you'll see those in due course." So maybe not just one major launch, but instead 2. The launch of Modern Warfare, but also the launch of, shortly thereafter, Modern Warfare Battle Royale, or just Call of Duty Battle Royale. So how does this work? How does post-launch work if this is something that does happen? Well, firstly, it won't take away from any of the core fundamental experience of Modern Warfare. I know many players were bummed out about no campaign and instead getting a Battle Royale mode, and to each their own, but if this report is what will be happening, that won't be an issue this time around. We'll end up seeing that we have a campaign, MP, and Spec Ops all untouched by the necessity to allocate resources elsewhere in development, plus a Battle Royale mode as its own thing. So you have that full Call of Duty experience that you've known of from the past, plus a Battle Royale without any of the things being tampered with because nobody had to work on something they weren't necessarily working on beforehand. That assumes that we'll also see then the largest post-launch content support ever, since we'll have the base Modern Warfare game with DLC, which is already confirmed to have free maps and no traditional season pass, though again that 1-week exclusivity will still apply, and plus what will also probably be post-launch support for Battle Royale, allowing for maybe map updates and maybe even multiple maps added in. We saw that Alcatraz was its own separate map you can queue up for in Blackout, so who's to say that doesn't happen again? But that said, free-to-play, if that is the case, will offer a larger player count and a larger market share, and may even prove to be a leader in the Battle Royale genre as a result if they do go free-to-play. I know that a lot of people that have mentioned here in the comments, to me over on Twitter, Instagram, wherever it may be, that they like Blackout because it's not cartoony, it's not childish like Fortnite is seen to be, and so therefore, something that is a functional, full build of a game like a Modern Warfare Battle Royale, something that would take what I imagine PUBG to be, but you actually optimize it and make it better, that could be something that does actually contend there if it doesn't have the entry barrier of $60. But then also said with that, it's also probably going to be peppered with MTX. Know that up front, know that right now. If this does happen as such, I can guarantee you that you're going to see an absolute abhorrent number of things within the MTX model peddled and pushed in that free-to-play portion of Battle Royale. Maybe sure this takes away all the MTX from what would be the core Modern Warfare experience and then puts it into something that is completely optional and free-to-play. But who knows? That's something that Call of Duty Mobile is the exact same thing. They offer stat-changing weapons for purchase in that game, and it's something that does have no entry barrier, but you're damn well gonna pay for something if you want a better experience. The thing is this was also just reported today out of the earnings call from Activision, is that microtransactions, they're not going anywhere, especially because today it was reported that the last quarter earnings, 3 months, was $800 million off Black Ops 4 alone. That is absurd, and that is a huge testament to say, nope, that is not changing at all. That is not going anywhere. So maybe we see this pushed further in the free-to-play version, but with the prospect of something coming for free and the prospect of something cool that is coming for free, that also levels the cons and what may be happening there. The pros and cons are a rising tide in tandem, that when you have something like that that could be really awesome for the fans, there's also going to be a way to end up monetizing it even more in its own right. So that said, that's where we're going to wrap it up. I wanted to bring you guys this information because it's really been a roller coaster of things that we've seen reported and heard about Modern Warfare Battle Royale and what may be a Battle Royale for Call of Duty standalone. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. What do you guys take here out of this? Do you think it will be something that does happen exactly how this report will say, being that it comes after launch and is something that is worked on by Raven and is something free to play? Do you disagree with some of what has been said? Whatever it may be, feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But that said, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare, all things Black Ops 4, all things Call of Duty, updates, news, information, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. We got you covered here on the channel. So if any of that interests you, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best place to get connected outside of YouTube. Practically live on both those. If you guys want to check out a conversation, ask me a question, what it may be, that link is down there in the description below. Well, let's end out of the way. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Modern Espresso. See you guys later. Take care and peace.